So Hugo, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Um, can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you're studying, where you're studying?
All right, of course, yeah. So I'm a second year student at Leiden University College in the Netherlands. I'm originally from Spain. I never really thought about going abroad until my senior year. And then I looked into programs abroad, especially in the Netherlands and also France. And I really, really liked the concept behind university colleges. And I guess that's why I'm here. Yeah.
And what appealed to you about university colleges that was different from what was available to you, for example, in Spain or in France or in other places?
So I'd say the liberal arts and sciences system I found it really appealing, like the possibility to really design your major instead of getting one fixed major, which is the normal way to go in Spain. So here I could, even though I'm doing a major in governance, economics, and development, I could choose to focus on public policy or international development, while other of my friends were doing mostly economics. So I think that was the most interesting thing for me because I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. Like I knew I liked law, I knew I liked economics, I knew I liked politics and international relations as well, but I really needed the space to explore my passions, I guess.
Great. And let's see, what would you say to a student, for example, from Spain, who's considering studying in the Netherlands and trying to make a decision between that and studying in Spain? What are the considerations, aside from, you know, whether it's a good fit academically, that they should be aware of?
So definitely the first one is that it's like an economic strain. Like it's a bit more expensive than Spain. Rent is higher, cost of living is higher, not crazy higher, but still enough to have a conversation with your family for sure. I think that's the first one. But aside from that, I think if you are slightly interested, I'd really encourage you to just do it. In fact, I'm actually bringing my brother now, who's actually a senior right now, to the Netherlands to study international business because that's his thing. But here, I think the international atmosphere that you get in this country, the quality of public education is outstanding, and the infrastructure and opportunities for jobs, interning, and networking is also great.
Great. And what do you like most about Leiden University College?
I love this place. I have to say, I absolutely love this place. I think it is. I don't think I could be better off anywhere else. What I love about Leiden University College when it comes to academics is that you get a lot of freedom to study anything related to international relations, politics, but also really niche majors like sustainability or culture, history and society, or global public health. So there really is a big set of options for different interests. I think the small scale classes are great. It's 20 of us per class, so it's a really empowering academic experience in that sense. And socially, I think the environment is great. I'm surrounded by people who come from all over the world, who have very similar interests to those I have, and who are here because they want to make some sort of difference when it comes to like a social impact or yeah, mostly social impact. Actually, I think that's very different to the courses my friends are studying in Spain, around international relations or politics. So yeah, that's truly special. Like I think just the quality of life and academics here is top notch, incredible.
Great. So it sounds like what you're saying is one of the things that sets it apart is that there's a real culture of wanting to make a difference in the world, and that's sort of built into the academics and into the fabric of student life there.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason for this is the fact that everyone's coming from really far away. So if you're coming all the way to the Netherlands from Spain, Italy, or Mexico, is because you have bigger goals for yourself than just graduating with a bachelor's degree. It's a lot of compromise to come here. You have to adapt to a completely different culture, which is super enriching. So when you're coming here, that means you have really, really high expectations for yourself and want to actually contribute in some substantial way. This is of course different to every major. I think every major has its own sort of uniqueness, but I think passion is really common for most of them.
That's great. And when you were deciding where to study, did you consider other universities in the Netherlands? And if so, how did you decide on LUC?
So first off, I wrote down a list of all major universities in the country which I was interested in. I checked all of the programs, every single one of the programs, and then that's when I discovered what university colleges meant. From then on, I knew I wanted to be in a university college. And really, once you decide that university colleges are for you, then the next step is actually choosing the one that fits your approach, because they're all insanely different. So I know Rotterdam offers a lot of business. I know Utrecht is super famous for science and food science even as well. So it's really about your approach. Leiden University College is on global challenges. So that means there's a huge component on international relations. And that was my thing. So that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Great. Tell us about The Hague. What's it like living in The Hague?
The Hague is such an interesting city. So it's definitely a diplomatic city. It's not the biggest student city, although there's still a substantial student population. But it's super interesting because it's one of the most diverse cities I've ever been in. I think around 50% of its population is international, and it's filled with embassies and all these like international organizations, which are great for interning and opportunities and stuff. But it also gives the city its really like its own character, its unique sense of well, just sense of city. I think it's great. I think it's a super green city. It was voted as one of the best cities to live in Europe and in the world because of its infrastructure and so on. I would say the only thing I don't love about The Hague is the weather, and really you sign up for this once you come here. But the rest is just absolutely outstanding.
So are you saying you don't make it to the beach very much?
I do make it to the beach from May to October, not outside of those. Which, to be honest, I also don't in Spain. Like you forget about it, but it's really more about the rain and the clouds. But really, aside from that, and you get used to it pretty fast. Like I would say that's the biggest issue. But for the rest, like biking is a huge thing in the country, so you feel free. You're much more free than you would be in other major cities. And this is common for the whole country, actually.
Wonderful. And just a couple more questions I want to ask you. Can you tell us what a typical day is like for you?
What a typical day is like for me. I get this question very often, and interestingly, there's no typical day for me, and I think that's also quite special. It's a very university thing as well. Like you get different schedules for every day. So I'd say I go to class at least a few hours every day from Monday to Friday. I try to go to the gym. I try to meet up with my friends. During the weekends, I try to travel or go out, but sometimes I just have to study, and that's just how it goes. So yeah, there's not one day, but I do think that that's also quite cool, right? The diversity and being able to organize yourself, and that's a huge change from high school to college to university. You really are a lot more free. But aside from that, I think I have a pretty normal life. I'm still a normal human being. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And no pressure to answer this question if you don't know the answer yet, but I'm sure people would love to know what you're thinking of studying when you finish, or sorry, what you're thinking of doing when you finish.
So I don't tend to answer this question, but I'm definitely going to answer it here. I do want to go into master's program after this. Maybe I'll take a gap year, but it's most likely that if I get into a good option, I'll go straight away. Ideally, I'd like to go to like a good school, Ivies or Oxbridge in the UK for sure, which also depends on the funding I get or of the acceptance. But I know of people who've gone after my program, so that is always a possibility. There's also some cool scholarships abroad in Asia that I would like to apply for. Or if not, I could also do a master's program in the Netherlands, Germany, France, Belgium, always around international development, public policy, something like this. Yeah.
And where do you see yourself going in terms of a career once you finish your degrees?
Yeah. So it really, yeah, I know it's a big question. I have a few answers actually. So there is a part of me that tells me to go into something related to education. It could either be public policy in the fields of education or more independent educational work, which I still have to see. I think for what I do know is I want to go work at least for a few years, into the third sector, NGOs, international organizations, things like this for sure. In policy or international development, we'll see how that goes. Ideally, people in my, like with my background, really try to get into the European Union or the UN. I'm not saying that's not for me. It could be an option, but I don't have my focus on that as much.
Great. So I have one more question. What would you say are the top 3 things that someone who is considering studying in the Netherlands should know?
Oh, wow. I think this varies from program to program, but I would say that education is good. Education is, I don't want to use the word superior, but I know that I'm getting a lot of things that my friends are not getting back home. And I think that's great. I think socially, you need to understand that it is an incredibly international atmosphere right now, especially after Brexit. So you're not just going to the Netherlands, you're going to this sort of international-ish bubble in the Netherlands. And I think that's always an asset. And the third thing would be, I guess, your prospects for the future change. I'm not saying you get more opportunities. You might in some fields, you might not in other fields, but the information you are able to access from being around all these different people who are incredibly interesting is definitely an asset. So when you grow up, especially in a smaller city, there's always, like, at the end of the day, you're always surrounded by very sort of pre-designed sets of people. And here it's just everything's random and crazy. I'm with friends from Latin America, the Philippines, and people who are doing great things already. I think that's really, really cool because it really expands your vision of what your future self can be.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Hugo. I really appreciate you talking to me today, and I hope that this information will be helpful to future prospective students in the Netherlands and at Leiden University College.
Thanks for having me.